Touchdown, Chargers!
What's up, guys? Welcome into a 4th of July edition of Chargers Weekly. As always, joined by the voice of the Chargers, Matt Money Smith. And Money, the thing about Chargers Weekly is it's all year round. This is probably the dead week of the year when it comes to the football season, but not here on Chargers Weekly. We got a bunch of questions still.
Yeah, we did it last week, and it went a lot better than we thought it was going to, right? You know, we asked for questions, and we're like, it's July and June, and all the players are on vacation, and the coaches are on vacation, the front office is on vacation. It's truly their last window before they get back to business on the 17th of July. And by the way, hit up chargers.com/camp. July 7th is the day to begin making your reservations for that week for 17, 18, 19. So if you want to get out to training camp, you know, they cap the number of folks that can come in. But here on Chargers Weekly, if you're listening, give you a little heads up that it's July 7th that they'll open that thing up and you can reserve your spot.
That's less than a week away. And, I got to tell you this. I'm in Charleston, South Carolina right now, and I'm waiting for my flight. And there's somebody at my terminal that says, "What's up?" He's a big Chargers Weekly fan. He listens to your Instagram post-game live. His name is, I had to get his name, Paul Menace. He lives in Charleston, South Carolina. He was a Navy nuke via Temecula, and big Chargers Weekly fan. So I told Paul we would shout him out at the beginning of the show today.
Awesome. Appreciate you, Paul. Appreciate your service, especially on this, our nation's 249th birthday. And certainly appreciate you listening to the show. That means a lot. We love doing it. We love interacting with all of you. And that goes for if you ever see us walking around when we're at the games. Not that I expect to run into anybody that knows who I am around town or Charleston for that matter. But at the games especially, Chris, we love chatting with the folks. And I have a special place in my heart for Charleston, South Carolina, because it was my salvation when we were in Charlotte for the week. I very quietly rented a car and snuck out after the Panther game on Sunday night and spent 3 days down there at Folly Beach in Charleston and was just texting with the bosses over there. Like, hey, what are you doing tonight? It's like, probably just going to stay in, just kind of just mellowed out. I got the radio show and, the busy work, just work calls. I was able to get some waves in with my friend Kyle from down there, who's sponsored by Free Fly, and I certainly appreciate that. So, Paul, thank you for mentioning that, and Chris for going to Charleston to conjuring up those great memories I had of our trip last year.
Dude, I love Charleston so much. My parents have been down here since, I think, 2008, so my brothers are down here, so I figured I'd spend a few days, do some grilling, chilling out with the fam before we get rolling. But we still have a ton of questions that we want to get answered. So if you're grilling, if you're at the beach this weekend, pop on Chargers Weekly, and we'll answer some of these questions. Before we do so, though, a couple of things, I guess, relevant to last week's mailbag. Jalen Ramsey's not coming to the Chargers. He's not going to the Rams either. He's a Pittsburgh Steeler, traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick. The Steelers also get Jonnu Smith in the deal. Kind of a surprising, almost one for one. Yet you add Smith to the mix, but I didn't think that Minkah Fitzpatrick was on the trade block at all. So how about that? That's a big move.
Yeah, it was an interesting. I'm going to the depth chart because I just want to make sure I get the names right. It kind of goes to what we were talking about, right? When it comes to because they just signed Darius Slay. They also have Joey Porter Jr., who's essentially a first-round pick, very top of the second round. So those are their outside corners. So where are they going to play Jalen? He's going to be the big nickel. He's going to be Derwin. Mm-hmm. So that's why for all the Charger fans that were like, hey, you got all this money and this cap space is still there, go get Jalen Ramsey. And I think what the Steelers are doing is kind of what's going to benefit him. And they just signed Juan Thornhill as a free agent. So now he'll be your high safety, which is where Minkah was playing, and Deshaun Elliott's your box safety. So they just kind of were like, okay, if instead of playing Minkah at free, can we put Thornhill there, feel good about it? And now we get that big nickel in Jalen. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're looking at it as, we want this guy to be Derwin. We want him to do, they're built very similarly. They're super athletic. And I think that was kind of the idea. Now, look, Minkah is a hell of a safety. I mean, he is an incredible safety. So is it a net neutral? Is it a net positive? Is it a net negative? I don't know, but it's probably pretty close because of how good Minkah is. it's wild to me that they gave, and I assume that's money, because Minkah's making 16, 17 mil. Jalen's making 26 mil. I think they gave him an extra 1.5 on top of what he was already making. So I think they had to make the money work, and that's probably why they did it. But two teams we're going to face. So you're going to see the Dolphins with Minkah, who's a heck of a player, and you're going to see the Steelers now with that back end of Slay, Porter, Deshaun Elliott, Thornhill, and now Jalen Ramsey, not to mention what they have up front, and Keanu Benton, who never gets mentioned enough, TJ Watt, Patrick Queen, Highsmith. That is a hell of a defense they have over there.
It is. And the TJ Watt thing is something to monitor at this point because he does not have a new deal yet. I would assume that the Pittsburgh Steelers do not want TJ Watt to leave the city of Pittsburgh. So you would think that would get done. But the Minkah Fitzpatrick thing is interesting. Remember, he was drafted before Derwin in 2018. And then when you add Jonnu Smith, we've heard for the last couple of weeks how much Arthur Smith wants Jonnu Smith back in his offense. I think he was with him in Tennessee and Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. So then you get Aaron Rodgers, another weapon, I guess, in the passing game. So fascinating.
Think about those three tight end sets, Chris. We talk about the Chargers, and with Freiermuth and with who's the kid out of Georgia? Yeah, Washington, who's basically an offensive lineman. He's huge, 300 pounds. So they're going to be running a lot of that three tight end, similar to what the Chargers are going to be running. And man, that's going to be as the old folks like to say, a slobber knocker when those two teams tangle. Whatever week that is, week 10, because week 8 is the Vikings. We heard about the Rodney Harrison news, so I remember that being week 8. So I think it's right around there.
It's around there, and then week 6 in Miami against Minkah Fitzpatrick and company. That was the other news. Rodney Harrison going to the Chargers Hall of Fame. That cool phone call between Harbaugh and Harrison. That's going to be the Thursday night game against the Minnesota Vikings. So obviously Rodney has his Sunday obligations. He'll be able to be here for that Thursday night game. It should be a special night.
No doubt, and you think about that defense, and he's one of the all-time greats. It's a bummer that he had to leave. It's good for him that he got to go out and get a Super Bowl ring with the Patriots. But, just like Junior Seau, you have two of the iconic Charger defensive players from that particular era and really of all time, and they both end up going to the Patriots to finish out their careers. But excited to have Rodney back that week. He's certainly a fan favorite, from an era when if you had someone that could bring the heat and could pack a punch, it went a long way. And I don't know when Rodney Harrison was playing if there was a more physical defensive back in the league, and someone you better have your freaking head on a swivel if you're out there and knowing that Harrison, number 37, was out there lurking, because he would knock your ass clean out.
Bill Belichick has his favorite defensive players of all time, and Lawrence Taylor, I think, is number 1, but Rodney Harrison may be number 2. He talks about Rodney Harrison with such reverence, and it harkens back all those memories of that defense led by Rodney here when he was wearing those navies for the San Diego Chargers. So it'll be fun to honor him on Thursday Night Football. And without further ado, let's get to more of these questions. This is from Henry Smith III on Instagram. He wanted to know how he could submit a question, and I said, just do it right here, man. He said, if Money had to pick one bold statement below, both are a bit of a stretch, one good, one bad, which one would he pick for 2025? The first scenario, Roman's offense with full off-season training camp for Herbert, new running backs and Mekhi Becton, a top 7 offense in the league. I don't think that's too far-fetched. But I think that could happen. And then number 2, off-season losses have bigger effect on defense. Second-year quarterbacks regress to the mean, and overall D drops to 18th in the league. Which is more likely?
Well, okay, so you're asking me what do I think is more likely? I think, unfortunately, the defense is more likely, just because I just pulled up the schedule to look at where Pittsburgh was, and it is week 10. So way to go, me. But you look at this schedule, and it's not I see Kansas City. So there you go. You got 2 with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Vegas is no longer, Antonio Pierce and Aiden O'Connell. It's Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. It's Bo Nix in year 2. New York could be Jackson Dart. They're really excited about him. Washington's Jaden Daniels. We know Mike McDaniel can coach offense. You got Tua and all that speed. Is Indianapolis with Shane Steichen going to be more of a steady hand? And they've got a hell of a receiving core, not to mention they just added Tyler Warren. You got Jonathan Taylor in that backfield. You see what I'm getting at? Like Kevin O'Connell can coach offense. You got Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh, not Justin Fields. You've got Liam Cohen, who put it on the Chargers last year with Tampa in Jacksonville, taking over the reins with Trevor Lawrence and now Travis Hunter. And we know what Brian Thomas Jr. did last year. Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, C.J. Stroud. Like, those are the quarterbacks you're facing last year. I go back to last year. Let's go back to last year's schedule, Chris, for this defense. And again, Vegas, O'Connell, Carolina, Bryce, Pittsburgh, Fields. We know about Arizona. They held Kyler Murray now, who was, to 15 points, but that offense wasn't really humming. You had New Orleans with Spencer Rattler, Cleveland. I don't remember who the quarterback was.
It was Jameis.
It was, wexactly, through the whatever.
He was
3
picked
picks,
off multiple
Jameis.
times.
Tennessee, Will Levis. You know what I mean? Like that, like last year, Atlanta with Kirk Cousins, who had a horrible game. So, like, Drake May and no offensive line, like, it's a different season of quarterbacks. So it's a different, it's
a great point.
A tough sketch. So that's why I would say that's more likely.
You know what? Maybe both could happen, right? I mean, maybe the offense is a group that can carry the day some weeks when you have to play some explosive offenses on the other side, and Hampton and Harris get rolling, and Justin rounds into form, and some of these new additions on the outside pop, and you're scoring 31 points a game for a stretch of the season. So
I don't think
both are possible.
The thing is, like, sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to jump in there. I don't think if I remember right, because I was just looking at it over the course of the week, I don't think the offense was that bad last year, even though they had here we go, 2024 NFL offense EPA. They were 20th. Like, I think people look at the offense last year and they're like, they were like 28th. No, they were 20th. And I think for a good chunk of the year, and if you think about the second half of the year when Ladd didn't really come on till like week 6. So I think if you were to pull that, if they were 20th after what was a pretty rough stretch there before Ladd really got going, I would imagine, like, if you took the last 10 weeks, they were probably top 15. So to your point, it's not, 7 would be something. Like, if you look at last year, here's your top 7 offenses. Ravens 1, Lions 2, Bucks 3, 49ers 4, Packers 5. I think that's right. Hold on. Because this is... you know what? I got it. I got this all.
Bills.
It said current EPA. I thought I was looking at EPA, but I wasn't. So my apologies, man. I screwed that up.
You'd have to surpass the Bills, the Bengals, the Ravens.
Yeah, no, that was
Chiefs,
a bad
Lions.
one. I'm terribly sorry. I screwed that thing up. Here we go. Yeah, see, even better. Last year, 2024 EPA per play. Chargers were 13th. 13th.
Wow.
Expecting points added. Like, they weren't. So to jump to 7th, it was Baltimore, Buffalo, Detroit, Washington, Tampa, Philly, Bengals. There's your top 7. Wow. Those pretty good offenses. But Liam Cohen's gone out of Tampa.
Top 10 would be a win, Henry.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. That was a longer answer than it needed to be. But thank you, Henry.
It goes into this next question, which I think is a really good one, from Nicholas Petrilli. Would you be more impressed with Chargers beating the Chiefs once or twice but only having 10 wins, or losing to the Chiefs both times but having 12 wins? Which one of those outcomes would give you more confidence in the Chargers doing real damage in the playoffs? If you beat the Chiefs twice, I'd take that, and you still make the playoffs, I'd take that over 12 wins. That gives you confidence. That gives you a chance to actually win the AFC West.
Right.
I don't. You have to slay that beast, Bunny. You have to slay that beast in Kansas City.
Yeah, I think you're out. You hit it on the head there, Chris, because if you sweep the Chiefs and you got 10 wins, I'm guessing you're not going to get swept by the Raiders and the Broncos, and you're probably going to win the division. And the division's teams are going to knock the hell out of each other, because I can tell you right now, the Chiefs probably aren't getting swept by both the Raiders and the Broncos. So that's how that whole thing's going to shake out. And next thing you know, 10 wins because of the rules that I disagree with personally, that division winners get home games no matter what, as opposed to a wild card team with a better record. If you're winning the AFC West, you're going to get a home game. So let's get the home game, as opposed to being a 12-win wild card team like they have been in the past. 2018 comes to mind as a 12-win wild card team. Had to go to Baltimore, to play a wild card game. So yeah, let's take the sweep of the Chiefs.
This is from Isaac. How many guys on the team have a serious all-pro potential this season? Serious.
Well,
Alt, Slater, Herbert on offense. Derwin's already an All-Pro. Khalil Mack has been an All-Pro.
yeah.
Derwin thinks Deion Henley can be an All-Pro. We'll see. We'll see if he can make that leap from Pro Bowl snub to All-Pro in year 3. Anybody else? I don't know. What do you think?
I'm going to go to the 2024 All-Pro team. So Herbert would have to beat out Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. They were the All-Pros last year. Ladd McConkey, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. Linebacker. Let's see. Roquan Smith. Where is my list of? Here we go. First team. Defense. If he were to make it, so Zach Bond, Fred Warner, Roquan Smith are your linebackers on the first team. Frankie Louvu, Bobby Wagner, Zaire Franklin, second team. Yes, I think he could beat out.
Yeah,
I think he
could get in that second team.
I think he was better than one of those. And the problem with linebacker is too often they weigh that on, sort of edges and pass rushing, not off-ball linebackers. No, because you got Roquan, Fred, Zach. Yeah, first team's going to be tough. Second team, I think he could make it. You mentioned, look, I think Justin Herbert's in that mix. If he's cooking, I have faith, is it going to be hard to knock off, Lamar, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow? That's a tough nut to crack, no doubt. But I think there's potential there. Derwin, as you said, is a no-brainer. The tackles are no-brainers that they have the opportunity to do that. As Tristan Wirfs, Quinn Meinerz last year were your first team tackles. Your second team tackles were Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson. So it's tough, but they can do it. I think that sounds.
The problem with Herbert making the money is just the way that the Chargers play. If it's going to be a run dominant scheme, and you're just not going to put up the numbers that a Lamar or a Josh Allen put on the ground. Now, Justin has the capability of running the football and throwing 3-4 touchdowns a game. It's just a matter of how they're going to play. If they have a big lead going in the second half, we kind of know the formula that Greg Roman wants to execute.
Yeah, the one that could be interesting is whoever the fullback's going to be. If this becomes one of the top 5, because your fullbacks were Patrick Ricard in Baltimore. Who's he blocking for? Derrick Henry and Kyle Juszczyk in San Francisco. And we know they always have a great running attack up there. So if the running game with Najee Harris and Amari Hampton comes together with this new revamped offensive line, then you could put Scott Matlock or Steve-O Klotz, if he makes it as the fullback, into that mix as well, because not a lot of teams carry a fullback, but they put one every year on the All-Pro team.
It's a good call. Oh, Cameron Dicker. How about him? Forgot about that. Right. Forgot about the kicker,
Yeah. Now he should have been at this year's Chris Boswell. It should have been Dicker. I saw that interesting stat. I don't know if you saw it floating around Instagram, Chris, that he's got 97 field goal attempts in his career. Once he gets to 100, even if he misses all 3, he will still be the most accurate kicker through 100 attempts in the history of the NFL. So
how about that?
Great call. Get him out there.
Yep. And you know what? To boot, Josh Harris, log snapper.
Great call.
Let's get him as an All-Pro as well.
Great call.
This is from Nate Gosney. How did both of you get into the business? And if you were to tell any new journalist one piece of advice, what would it be? And also, who on the team would be able to outsurf money? That's the question I want answered first. I think you are on a level by yourself, sir.
I don't know anybody else who serves. I know I've seen a car in the lot with it definitely has a sticker. I'm trying to think if it's a Spider Surf. It's got a South Bay Surf Shop sticker. I can't remember.
Maybe you're not allowed to surf.
Or EC.
Can you surf?
You're not supposed to, because I remember having this conversation with Raheem Mostert, who surfs a lot because he's from Hawaii, and he and I were chopping it up at the broadcast boot camp once. And I asked him, I was like, "Hey, if you want to paddle out tomorrow," and he was like, "I can't." He's like, he goes, "I can when I'm in Hawaii." He's like, "But if I'm here around all these people," he's like, "and people found out, I'd get in trouble." So I assume they put snowboarding and, like I remember Vlad when I worked for the Lakers. Remember Vlad Radovich busted his shoulder snowboarding. you're not going to get hurt surfing. Now you can drown. You can slice your foot open, I guess, on a fin. I've certainly gotten hurt. I busted my shoulder surfing, so you can get messed up. But the way these guys would be surfing, they wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think anybody surfs. I've tried to get them out. I've offered, and they all have the same reaction. There's sharks out there, man.
Yeah,
come on, man.
You put in your 10,000 hours too. I think it's going to take, even if you're an NFL athlete, it'd take a minute. It'd take a minute to outsurf Matt Money Smith.
Yeah, and that was just a throwaway question. What was the first half? I forgot. I got it. Now I was thinking
first
about
one
waves.
was
I need to chase a wave in Brazil. That's all I'm thinking about now.
Yeah, exactly. How did we get into the business, and what piece of advice would you give a new journalist?
Go ahead, Chris. You can get started. I'm an old man. You got into the business a little bit later than I did.
Yeah, mine was a winding road, though, man. Like I started in sports 25 years ago. I worked as an intern on the John Thompson show in Washington, D.C. It was Redskins training camp 2000. So like I knew I wanted to get onto the broadcast side, but sometimes you take the path you're given. And I got a job actually with the now Commanders Redskins in the marketing department. I was there for a couple of years, and then coincidentally worked with the Lakers when Money was there doing Lakers line. I was director of sponsorships for 9 years, and I got to the point where, man, it was awesome. You got to go to 3 straight finals, 2 championships, but I knew I wanted to get back to covering football. So I left the Lakers in 2015, came back to LA, did some stuff at NFL Network, and then was fortunate enough to get in with the Chargers first year in Los Angeles. And that's kind of how I started Chargers Weekly, and then did some stuff with CBS a couple years later. So now I'm full-time over at CBS, but still get to do this podcast with Money. So it's been a winding road, man. But I guess the biggest piece of advice I'd give you is just be open to anything, any opportunity, because you don't know where that path is going to take you. And as far as like, being a journalist, sometimes creating something and kind of making your own path, forging your own path is the way to go. Because I don't know about you, I don't think I've ever gotten a job applying online and going through that process where it's very rare that it works that way.
No, they've always come to me. I've been very fortunate on that front. And, I think it's just, I don't need to, I think you nailed it, Chris. I'll just piggyback and say, yeah, you don't know what an opportunity is going to turn into. I mean, my first opportunity was answering phones as a phone screener for Kevin and Bean on K-Rock morning show here in LA. And I didn't know at the time that Jimmy Kimmel was going to become, one of the most famous television personalities in the world. He was just the sports guy for Kevin and Bean. That's what he was. And we hit it off, and he kind of was a mentor to me and helped share what he thought was a path to success. And I followed him and trusted him implicitly. And on top of that, for play-by-play, in my free time, the Long Beach Pyramid used to have cassette decks with headsets upstairs where you could, if you were a student and I would just sneak in, you could throw a cassette in there and you could call the game. And so that's kind of how I got my reps and why I didn't have to go to a smaller market to start doing play-by-play, because I probably did, 20, 30, 50 NBA Summer League games. Wow. Just fake calls of NBA Summer League games. And that's how I kind of was able to get some reps and some time on task. And so I think if you want to go into play-by-play, now you don't need a cassette deck. You can get a headset that plugs into your iPhone, hit the voice recorder, and just sit up there and call the game and listen back to it and figure out what sounds right, what doesn't, adjust your energy levels. Am I talking too much? Am I not talking enough? Am I describing the action right? Do I have the geography right? Am I saying the players' names the way I should be saying? Like, I did all that stuff. And so that's why when my time came and, I had a boss who gave me the opportunity to call the Pac-10 tournament. At the time, wasn't even the Pac-12 yet. I was not that nervous. I was kind of ready to go and was able to pull it off. And, that led to my play-by-play career.
When was your first year doing play-by-play?
2000. Technically, it's funny. Before I did play-by-play, I was a color analyst for a game for the Lakers. Michael Thompson got sick, and I had to fill in for him. I had to hop a flight to Sacramento to call the game with Spiro. So that was my first, that was my first game was a Lakers, when the Lakers were winning championships, a Lakers-Kings game was my first bit of in-game call, and I was the analyst. And then I believe, 2010. No, I think I did the Pac-10 tournament in 2007. So I did the Pac-10 tournament in 7, 8, and 9. And then I started doing football in 2010. I started doing college football. So here I am 15 years later, still calling football. Love it.
Love it, man. And you and DJ, just you guys have the best chemistry. It's fun to hear the calls and to actually to see the fans literally turn down the TV to listen to you guys still. I remember as a kid, like listening to Sonny, Sam, and Frank in DC. Like it was Frank Herzog, Sonny Jurgensen, and Sam Huff. And you would turn down your TV. And I love that tradition. And it's how it still stands in 2025 where people will want to listen to the home call and Money and DJ get that love. It's the best.
Appreciate it, Chris. Thank you. Yeah, DJ's the best. I just try to stay out of his way. He's the best analyst out there. I don't think it's even close.
Yeah, you guys are amazing. All right, Chris Hills, how's Benjamin St. Juste looking? I think his skill set is perfect for our scheme. I know Dante, Tarheeb, and Cam are going to get the bulk of snaps, but I think DBs might be a sneaky strength on the D. So, St. Juste, he had a tough go of it last year with Washington. I think his PFF grade was like 47.4. But I think this is purely the traits and the reps that he has in the league. I think Jesse Minter and company think that they can work with a guy like this. And I'm really intrigued to see how he looks with Jesse Minter and Clinkscale and that whole secondary, what they're going to do with St. Juste and how he's going to fit into the rotation.
Yeah, I think it's a depth piece. And when we talked to Coach Minter, remember what he said to us, Chris? He specifically pointed out, the Christian Fulton situation, that they saw potential, and they were really proud of how hard he worked and how he took to their coaching and what they wanted him to maybe adjust a little bit. And he ends up getting a big free agent contract from Kansas City. And he pointed out, he's like, St. Juste he's got the traits, he's got the athleticism, he's got everything you'd want in a corner. And we feel like we can do some things with him. And that's why he's here, because he saw what happened with Christian and he wanted, and we sold him on the idea that we can try to do the same thing. And I know they're very excited about Dante Jackson. So that's, I think that the question hit it on the head where, it's Cam, Dante, and Tarheeb and Benjamin St. Juste is going to expect it to play impact special teams, be that fourth corner to start and try to work his way into the rotation.
Yeah, he's a guy that I think is going to be really fun to watch during the preseason to see kind of where he is in this scheme and how quickly he picks it up. This is from Rico, the sports guy. How much do you guys think Justin Eboigbe impacts this year? I know he didn't get too much playing time last year, but with the depth looking the way it does, can he have a Poona Ford type of impact? We kind of touched on the defensive line.
That'd be a hell of an impact.
It would be, but there's like 7 deep at defensive tackle. I'm really excited about this position group because you have Tito, you have Caldwell, you have the two guys, Hand and Jones, that are kind of going to replace Poona. Eboigbe, you still have Scott Matlock there, so there's a lot of guys who I think can play meaningful snaps during the regular season.
Yeah, look, they said that year 1 to year 2. Coach, how often have we heard Coach Harbaugh say that? The offseason between year 1 and year 2 is when you are going to take your biggest jump. And we've heard nothing but great things about Justin, about how much weight he's put on of muscle, 20 pounds of straight muscle, how different he looks, how he's done everything they've asked. We know he was an impact player at Alabama and that he was considered a project when he was drafted in the 4th round here. So, we don't know. We don't know what kind of impact he can have. What we do know is he's in a very deep room. Like you said, who will your starters be? It'll probably be Tito and pick, Naquan or Deshaun. And then you're going to be rotating in your 3rd round pick and Caldwell, who I think is going to probably start earning snaps in a hurry. Yeah. Just because of his
Did we say T.R. Tart? I mean, you didn't say T.R. Tart too.
See, there we go, dude. I totally forgot about T.R. He's going to be your starter. You're probably talking about T.R. Tart and like Jones and Hand and Tito, and that's going to be your main rotation. And then the other guys you're going to sprinkle in and Caldwell and Eboigbe. So, yeah, I mean, the potential's there. This was their vision. This was, again, you mentioned Clinkscale, Mike Elston, one of the best coaches in the league, their D-line coach. So I have faith that he's going to do good things this year.
This is from Peaky Bolts. 2 peaky questions from Poland. Dicker speaks Mandarin. Do you or any other Bolt speak a second language? And did you see this picture? What's your favorite Run DMC song?
Let me see the picture. Oh,
This is
that's
Run
hilarious.
DMC. It's Popper, you,
Popper.
and me.
Right? All right. There,
Yeah, there you go.
Daniel, Money, and Chris.
Yeah.
That's a great photo.
Good job. Peaky Bolts, baby.
Yes. What was the first question again?
Dicker speaks Mandarin. Does anybody else speak a second language? Do you speak a second language? I don't.
Sí, yo hablo un poco de español y hablo con mi amigo y el Chargers. What his employee would be? I don't know. Gerente is manager. So Francisco, who does the analysis for La Radio Español, y yo will talk. So typically he does me the favor of speaking. So I guess I could say a few things. Let's see, I'd be empecé español hace 3 años y todos los días trabajo una hora o 2 horas. So there you go. Entonces, I'm trying, folks.
You upstaged me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to speak
shout out to
Italian,
Pancho and Adrian, by the way.
Exactly. Pancho's the best. El mejor. Pancho. El mejor.
Do you have a favorite Run DMC song, Money? I'm not a big Run DMC guy. I do. Like Aerosmith. Aerosmith, Walk This Way.
No, I can tell you right now, and I can recite it word for word. It's like an 18-second song, and it is called Son of Byford. And I'm not going to rap it, but I will recite it. I was born son of Byford, brother of Al. Betty was my mammy, used to be my pal. It's McDaniel's, not McDonald's. These raps are Daryl's. Those burgers are Ronald's. I run down my family tree, my mother, my brother, my sister, and me. That is Son of Byford. It's like this weird 18-second interlude on Raising Hell, I believe. And I don't know why, but it always stuck with me. For some reason, that song, I have not heard that song in 20 years, and yet I can still recite it. Close, almost word for word. Yeah, that was always my favorite.
I met DMC at a Super Bowl party in Arizona. I think it was the Giants Patriots Super Bowl in 07. That's my DMC story.
When I was the music director at K-Rock, Russell Simmons came in, and Run had put out his record. He was doing a Reverend Run record, and he didn't necessarily threaten me, but he kind of did. He was just kind of like, so here's what we're going to do. I was like, well, we're K-Rock here, Russell. Like, this is not an easy fit for us. And he's like, yeah, but you're playing 99 Problems by Jay-Z. I was like, well, it's Jay-Z, it's Rick Rubin. Oh, so Rick Rubin's got more pull than me. Well, he's Rick Rubin and 9 Inch Nails and Black Crow. Like there is, he's like, and he was like starting to get a little heated, a little upset. And he's like, how do we do this? It's like, how do we do what? Like, how do we make this work? I was like, we'll figure it out. we'll figure it out.
Did you figure it out?
I think, yeah, we did. I would play it at night after I would play it like right before Love Line in the 9 o'clock hour. Oh, that's what it was. I was putting it in the Furious 5 at 9 and made it sound like people were calling to request it. And I did that for like a week. And I was like, here's what I'm going to do, Russell. I'm going to put it in the Furious 5 at 9. We'll say people are requesting it. If we actually get some traction on it, then we'll play it. If not, I got to cut it after a week. We good? He's like, we're good. I was like, all right. Don't want Russell Simmons on my bad side.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's awesome. All right, Darren Tassone, do you believe this is the most anticipated season for Charger fans since the 06-07 Charger season? I do. Bolt up. I feel like we always say it. I feel like we always like Jim Harbaugh's first year was the most anticipated we've had in a long time. They won 11 games. I don't know. Is this the most anticipated?
I feel like, let's see, that would have been 2020. I feel like 2022, right? After they lost that game in week 18 in overtime to Vegas to miss out on the playoffs. I feel like that next year was like, okay, here we go. We're ready. Staley's the guy. I love the boldness and the going for it. It was terrible the way it got away from him, but Justin's ready to take that step into the top 5 elite quarterback kind of, and I think unfortunately it went, and that's the year they won, they got into the playoffs, jumped on top 28-0 on the Jaguars, and it just fell apart. and it carried over to the next season, and then Coach Staley was gone. So I think, like you said, I think, just to build on what you were saying, lest we forget, we're prisoners of the moment, and there is a lot of excitement about this season, but this is almost exactly where we were, coming off that 9-8 season. Because I don't think there was as much anticipation going into 23 because of how badly it went against Jacksonville. That was kind of like all the talk was like, I still can't believe that happened. And that's sort of the attitude that was the fans were kind of carrying into the season.
I'll say this. I think that the expectations are the highest they've been, Darren. If you look at what Coach Harbaugh did in year one, winning 11 games, and you just go by his track record of what he's done, I think in year two with the Niners, they did go to the Super Bowl. So the fact that Coach Harbaugh has this pedigree of winning everywhere he's gone, that second year, to me, it seems like expectations are probably the highest because you do go to the playoffs in his first year, and you expect the bar to be raised another notch. So I don't know about anticipated. I think expectation-wise, though, gosh, if it could match the 06-07 Chargers, then I think we're cooking here in El Segundo come July,
No doubt.
Joshua, now, do you think our linebacker group could be one of the best? We kind of talked about this last week. Even if Junior does not have an immediate impact like Dayon, he could still take snaps off Dayon and Denzel. I don't know I think you mentioned maybe it's one of the more underrated groups on this team. About
I think it's one
of Junior.
I think it's one of the best groups in the league. I expect big things from Junior, and I think you listen to how Coach talks about him, how Jesse Minter talks about him, how hard it was for him to get out from under, missing all of training camp, how much he lost physically from that appendectomy, and just trying to climb back from that, from a strength standpoint and a being ready for the season standpoint. And that they were very excited about what he started to show, the last 4 weeks of the season. So yeah, I'm expecting really, really big things out of him, and to have Dayon another year in, and don't forget, Derwin James is a dime backer. So he's part of that conversation too. So you can have Dayon and Derwin out there as your linebackers at times. And yes, I think it is one of the best linebacking groups in the league. And I'm saying that blind on expectations for Junior Colson, but I'm comfortable saying it.
From Willie Ham, is it more of an advantage for us or the Chiefs to kick off week 1 in Brazil? Well, it's a home game for the Chargers, although they have to fly 13 hours to get there. Week 1s are always wild cards anyway, Muddy. Do you think there's an advantage one way or another?
No. I think it's the same for both teams, but as you said, the Chargers lose their game, the Chiefs keep their home game against the Chargers, and it comes on a short week after the Chargers have to play the Super Bowl champion Eagles on Monday Night Football. So it definitely benefits the Chiefs when you take the whole season into context, right? Chargers lose a home game, have to fly 13 hours instead of playing at SoFi and sleeping in their own beds the night before. And then when the Chiefs play the Chargers, it's a Sunday 10 a.m. Pacific kick after the Chargers had just played Monday Night Football against one of the most physical teams in the league, the Philadelphia Eagles. So when you combine those two things, it is decidedly Chiefs' advantage based on how that thing shakes out.
All right. Shane Ledesma wants Money to share why he dislikes the Navy so much outside of being winless in them. This is something that comes up.
The people were upset with me about the uniform talk, and I knew they would be. Which, as I said, I'm willing to accept it.
To each his own.
Exactly. Because I recognize so many folks that are still huge Charger fans in San Diego, and I love that, and I appreciate that, and that's their uniform. Many of them that are of the 20 to 40-year-old range, Navies. They're into Navies. Even 50s, because you think about the Navies. What was it, 94, right? That went to the Super Bowl. The Stan Humphries, Natron Means, I get it. But for me, I just have this negative connotation because the players come out of the locker room and they're like, yeah, Navies are sweet. And then they go out and get their ass kicked. And it's happened every single time. And so I just can't get over it. Every time I see the Navies, I'm like, here we go again. And the players are so into them. They love them so much. And you're on the field. Like, they are super into them. And then they go out and lose the game. And I'm like, can we just get rid of these damn Navies? I'm sick of it. They are winless. They are winless in Navies since they went to the Powder Blues. So it's a personal thing. It has nothing to do with the way they look or any of that. That's my thing. Now, do I like the way the Royals look better? Yes, I do. But that's also nostalgia and relationship and watching the Epic in Miami and those Dan Fouts, Chuck Muncie, those teams. Like, I just love, that was sort of my introduction to football, was that era of football, being a little kid, a really little kid, 5-year-old, watching those games and then really getting into, football at that particular moment. So, and I always thought the Chargers uniforms were the coolest things I'd ever seen. And those were the Royals. So that's all it is for me. Don't take it personal, folks.
That's it.
Some of you did.
It's just because of recent history in the scoreboard at the end of the game after the 60 minutes. That's it.
Yes.
This is a great question. XFL
Primo. Was that no? But what did that person want to say about the Navies? I jumped you, Chris, and I was trying to defend myself against the many. But I missed the question. I don't want to.
No, he just wanted you to share why you don't like them.
Oh, okay. There we go. Well, there it is.
Just a simple explanation.
That's it.
Change is what a simple explanation.
That's it, man. Win a game in the Navies, and I'm all good. We're good.
Exactly. All right, XFL Primo, most likely to win Protector of the Year award, which is going to be a new award this year, Slater or Alt? It's a good question.
Yes, if I were to bet, it'd be Slater, because he's one of the best tackles in the league and has been for, when he's healthy, he is one of the best tackles in the league. He just is. Now Alt, we think, can get there. Last year he was great as a rookie, and we expect him to take a big step this year, but like people don't, I think, look, Charger fans know. Unfortunately, the rest of the NFL, doesn't know. And so, and it's not like if you give Protector of the Year to Trent Williams or Lane Johnson or Jordan Mailata, it's going to be a bad decision. But Rashawn's in that conversation. Like, he is just flat out in that conversation. So, like Tristan Wirfs, you have to have the reputation. And that's what typically gets you on those all-pro teams. So when you see Panay and Tristan on the first team, as I'm looking at it, and then you see Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson on the second team, it's a tough nut to crack. But if they're running the hell out of the ball and Herbert's staying clean on that blind side and play action is working, yeah, he's going to be in the mix. He is definitely going to be in the mix. I think it's probably going to be harder for a right tackle to get Protector of the Year, unless they're protecting for a left-handed quarterback. So
that's what I was going to say. You hit on the head with blindside. I mean, he's protecting Herbert's blindside, so that would, I think, give you the edge. But everything we've heard about Joe Alt, man, it's going to be fun.
Wouldn't be surprised.
It's going to be fun. Yeah, no doubt. A couple more here before we get out of here, Money. This is from Alex Boltup. Do you think Greg Roman's going to start throwing to the running backs this year? Yeah, I think so. I looked at the numbers
a lot last year.
It didn't happen. Well, Gus only caught a few. JK was targeted like 30 some odd times, but Amarian showed the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield in North Carolina. Najee can catch the ball out of the backfield too. So, the more that those guys are on the field, I think more they're going to be part of the passing game.
Yeah, I think for Roman, that he runs the ball, and a lot of those passes to running backs are typically extensions of the run game, and it's just not something that Greg has really done a lot in his career. And I think a lot of it also you have to look at when you're talking about historically is the backs that he's had. It's Frank Gore, it's Toby Gerhart, it's Gus Edwards and JK, and so the backs you've had aren't necessarily Austin Eckler, who can catch 90 balls a season. And that's kind of what we got used to the previous 5 years. But with Amari and Hampton, I could see him wanting to get him out in some space, throwing some passes into the flat and watch him make fools of people out there. So I could, and not to mention, we saw him run that wheel route and snag that pass over his shoulder. And it's like, okay, we're going to see some of this year. So I think a lot of it is personnel based.
Two more. Do we expect a punter competition? No.
No.
Ryan Ficken loves J.K. Scott, and J.K.'s pretty awesome. So
there's no punter competition.
That's not going to happen. Vadim Fanis, this will be the last question. Can you guys do a breakdown of what games you think will win-lose next year? Love how money takes into consideration travel, rest, previous week's opponent, as these factors seem to weigh heavy on likelihood of outcome. Thanks, Bolt Up.
That's maybe
Money?
for another show. I mean, I'd have to kind of go through it. And
you know what? How about we do this? We have a couple of more episodes before training camp starts. This may be an exercise that we do maybe next week.
Definitely. We can get into rest, what the other I'd want to that's a good one. I'd want to dig into it, give it the full Warren Sharp treatment. You know, what's the opponent coming off? What are we coming off? Is the opponent traveling from the week before? Are they looking ahead to the week after? Who was their opponent the week before? Was it a physical, bloody? And obviously, I get it. I don't need the disclaimer of, well, you know, people could get hurt. Yes, we go in accepting that people can get hurt and things can change drastically with who, you know, your Duck Hodges is your quarterback this week, and they still won. So, you know, like I think it's with all of that being said, yeah, that's one I'd rather dig into because it sounds like that's what you want us to do is dig into it and kind of talk about where the advantages are and where. Now, I do know they have a net positive rest schedule this year. Despite all those mileage, even though they're going to be the longest traveling team from air miles this year, they do have a net positive rest schedule because all of their primetime games, with the exception of the Monday Nighter in Vegas, which is a 30-minute flight, are home games. So that's a huge win when you're talking about a short week for Thursday Night Football against Minnesota, for Monday Night Footballs, you know, going into the next week. You get all that extra rest because you're at home and you're not flying home and ruining your Tuesday and Wednesday because you played Monday Night Football in Pittsburgh and you're not getting home until 5 a.m. So like all of that being taken into consideration, just to give you a thumbnail, the huge win is that every single primetime game is at home except the Monday Nighter in Vegas, and that's a 30-minute flight. So when we're done with that game, that's a late kick. Remember, that's the doubleheader Monday Nighter, so that's a 7:00 kick. So we're going to be wheels up around midnight, and instead of getting home at 6 a.m. the next day, you're getting home, 12:30, 1 o'clock. Not too bad. So there you go.
I was thinking we'd have a little bit more time before camp to dive into some of these topics. The good news for us, we have like one more week before we get into camp stuff.
Yeah.
Like we have we're taping this on a Wednesday now. Next week's the 9th. The following week's report day. So it's like we're in training camp early, man. A couple more weeks. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, no, we'll be doing because next Thursday's the 10th. We'll be at the first day of training camp for Thursday when we typically do Chargers Weekly. It'll be the first day of camp. We'll probably do Chargers Weekly from the Bolt on the first day of camp. So there you go.
Yeah, probably have a player on too. So I mean, gosh, we are we're cruising, guys. 4th of July weekend. I hope you guys have a wonderful 4th of July. We gave you 45 minutes of Chargers talk to pop on this weekend. I think listen, you guys did the work, man. 50 questions over the last 2 weeks. We appreciate it. Anything else to add before we get out of here, brother?
All good. Appreciate everybody for shooting the questions in. I'll add this. Remember, folks, on the 4th of July, leave the fireworks to the professionals because safety is no accident.
It's a PSA. You know what? Everybody needs that PSA.
That's right.
This time of year.
Don't blow your fingers off, folks.
Don't blow your fingers off, please. Enjoy it. And we will see you guys next week. For Money, I'm Chris. This has been Chargers Week.